At a factory yard, a rolling scaffold turns into a collapsing trap. In a plant courtyard, a mobile scaffold stands on uneven concrete. 2 workers are on the top platform while 2 more walk beside it, holding the frame for support as it's pushed along. None are tied off, the wheels aren't locked, and there are no stabilizers fitted. As they push the scaffold over the uneven concrete, the tower begins to rock. One ground worker gives a harder pull, and the unlocked wheels roll back until the frame tips past its balance point. The upper platform tilts sharply as the whole structure goes over, dropping toward the yard. The tower slams onto the concrete, and the top deck pitches sideways, while metal frames and planks skid and scatter across the ground. Scaffolds must be moved only when the platform is empty. Lock wheels use stabilizers or outriggers, and have everyone climb down before repositioning. On this yard, a boom lift suddenly turns into a catapult. On a construction yard beside a high wall, a self-propelled boom lift creeps forward. The platform is extended and tight to the facade, while the operator works near a concrete column. As the lift rolls over rutted ground, the wheels drop and the long boom surges upward. The basket strikes the column and rebounds with sudden, unpredictable force. The hazard escalates until the machine lurches to a stop. Never, ever drive a boom or scissor lift with the platform extended near obstacles or uneven ground. Lower the platform, clear the route, and stay clipped in at all times. On this job, a scaffold tower suddenly tilts as workers tug it near the wall. Inside a warehouse under construction, loose drop cloths cover the floor. Against one wall, a tall rolling scaffold stands beside an opening, while workers on the ground tug it into position, paying more attention to the destination than to its stability. As the workers pull on the base, the scaffold begins to sway and lean past its stable point. Its center of gravity shifts beyond the wheels, and the tower starts to tip toward the wall. The frame angles downward in stages as it moves off balance, while the crew steps clear of the path. Moving a tall scaffold without proper bracing, level footing, and a clear exclusion zone is never, ever acceptable. Keep towers tied, stabilized, and only moved when no one is standing in the fall path. On this site, a concrete wall lift pushes a crane to the edge of collapse. In a busy yard, a crane crew hoists a precast wall panel upright. Several workers guide it with taglines, while others stand nearby, watching the tilt-up process. The slab rises slowly, the crane boom towering above them, and the crew assumes the lift is stable. Without warning, the panel tilts forward and starts to drag the crane out of balance. The wall drops toward the ground, and the boom begins to bend as the rig loses stability. Dust and debris spread across the slab while crews clear the lift zone, and the crane structure gives way within the planned work area. Crane lifts must be planned with clear exclusion zones, controlled load paths, and proper rig stability, so that if a panel or boom fails, no crew member is standing anywhere inside the potential collapse area. On a busy street, one loose panel turns a scaffold into a fall. It's early afternoon on a neighborhood street as 2 installers work high on the side of a building. A mobile scaffold sits against the wall with a single plank and a long white panel resting on top. One worker stands on the frame while the other balances on the edge, focused on fastening the panel. There are no guardrails, no harnesses, and the panel isn't fixed, just perched between wall and scaffold over bare concrete. As the installer leans out with his drill, the unsecured panel slides away from the wall. Its lower edge slips off its support, tilting sharply and dropping like a hinged board. The sudden shift pushes against the scaffold's frame, knocking the workers off balance as the whole setup tilts outward. The panel and scaffold components tip together toward the sidewalk, while dust bursts up from below. Never, ever treat a loose sheet as a work platform. Don't stand on unsecured materials at height, and use scaffold planks, guardrails, and fall protection so a slipping panel can't turn a job into a fall. At a subway escalator, one loose floor tile becomes a trapdoor beneath a passenger. It's evening rush hour in an underground station. Commuters stream toward the escalator. Near the entrance, yellow tiles cover a service space below. One tile is cracked and slightly raised, with no cones, barriers, or warning signs, so people keep walking over it. A woman heads toward the escalator, focused on her bag and the crowd. As she steps onto the damaged tile, the panel suddenly tips downward. The surface drops like a hinged lid. Her leg plunges into the opening, and she's pitched forward onto the floor. A nearby commuter reacts instantly, pulling her back while others rush in, keeping more people from stepping on the unstable tile as they lift her clear. Damaged floor panels must be reported and blocked off, never ever left open to foot traffic, so the area stays protected until repairs secure the hazard. 2 workers push past their limit, and the load turns on them. In a tight back-of-house corridor, metal cages and stacked crates squeeze the walking space. 2 workers in caps and aprons move a heavy container, decide to lift it together instead of using better equipment, and line up shoulder to shoulder in the narrow aisle. The load is bulky, their grips are uneven, and there's almost no room to step back if anything goes wrong. They heave the load upward, straining to clear the nearby cart. As they shuffle forward, one worker's hands slip and the tilted container suddenly drops out of their control. The weight swings down in the narrow aisle, dragging the load sideways toward the cart and forcing both workers to jump back as it crashes down between the cages. Respect your lifting limits. Use mechanical aids for heavy or awkward loads, and plan any team lift so grips are stable, movements are slow, and no one is beneath the load if it slips. A suspended beam shifts unexpectedly in the workshop. In the metal workshop, technicians in blue coveralls and hard hats move around large yellow machine parts under an overhead crane. One worker stands close to a section being hoisted while another operates from the side. A third worker is on top of the yellow frame doing his task. The load hangs high as it's repositioned along the aisle, with people working directly beneath its path. As the crane shifts direction, the rig jerks and the suspended beam slips free from its hook. The structure crashes downward onto equipment below, crushing metal and supports in the drop zone. The frame twists and buckles under the impact, shaking the surrounding platform as dust and debris erupt through the workshop. Work stops instantly as the area is cleared, and the failed lift becomes a stark example of what a suspended load collapse can do. Never ever walk or work beneath a suspended load. Even the strongest crane or sling can fail without warning. Always establish exclusion zones, keep loads steady and low, and ensure no one stands beneath the lift. On a city sidewalk, one shove sends a painter's scaffold crashing. Outside an office building, a painter works on a rolling scaffold sitting beside a bucket of paint. The tower stands on small wheels over uneven sidewalk tiles close to a light pole above the pedestrian path. A coworker holds the scaffold frame, getting ready to shift it, with the wheels unlocked and the setup still unsecured. Without asking the painter to get down, the coworker starts pushing the scaffold while holding the frame. One caster catches on a rough patch, and the scaffold shifts sideways, tipping the tower toward the pole. The bucket tips and spills paint across the sidewalk as the structure continues to lean, then settles down around the platform until the frame comes to rest. Moving a mobile scaffold with anyone still on the platform is never, ever acceptable. Lock the wheels. Stabilize the frame, and only roll it when every worker is safely on the ground. At a busy container pier, one lifted box suddenly turns a truck lane into a danger zone. As the worker remains beside the trailer, the operator lifts to reseat the container. One corner snags. The load tilts and swings off-center. The box suddenly pitches backward off the trailer, striking the truck lane the worker has just cleared. As the worker remains beside the trailer, the operator lifts to reseat the container. One corner snags. The load tilts and swings off-center. The box suddenly pitches backward off the trailer, slamming into the truck lane the worker has just cleared. Treat every suspended or partially lifted container as a live impact hazard. Stay out of the fall zone, enforce clear exclusion lines, and only continue the lift when the box is level and fully stable. Every lift is a safety test. Stay out of the fall zone and wait for a fully stable box before approaching. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.